Hi everyone, I'm going to read you an extract from my new book, Frankie Saves Christmas. Frankie and his friends were having a Christmas sleepover. Charlie and Louise were on blow-up beds on the floor beside Frankie's bed. Charlie was wearing pyjamas covered in pictures of rockets and spacecraft. His gloves were still in his hands, resting on top of the quilt. Louise's sleeping bag came right up to the tip of her nose, covering most of her ears. She said it was the only way to avoid Charlie's snoring. Frankie couldn't sleep. He turned over, pulling his duvet tighter, when he heard a noise. It sounded like a tapping coming from the window ledge. Frankie sat up in bed and pulled open the curtains a tiny bit. It was a clear night, with the moon shining full and bright over the garden below. A shaft of moonlight fell across the room, and Charlie and Louise both stirred. Frankie heard the sound once more. This time it was louder. Knock, knock, knock. It was definitely coming from the window ledge. Then Frankie noticed something very strange indeed. His Christmas snow globe had tiny flakes of fake snow whirling around, even though he hadn't touched it. "Look at this," he said to the others. Louise and Charlie scrambled up onto his bed and peered at the snow globe. Inside was a model castle, but something else was moving. Frankie's heart raced as a tiny figure dressed in green emerged from the snowy scene and knocked on the inside of the globe. He waved his arms wildly. "He's trying to tell us something," said Louise. "What is it?" The little figure pointed urgently at the window. Frankie looked at his friends. "He's telling us to go outside." They raced to pull their clothes on over their pyjamas. Frankie opened his bedroom door with a creak and peered out. Frankie crept down the stairs, avoiding the fall from the bottom, which he knew creaked badly. Louise and Charlie followed. Max was still basking beside the embers of the fire, but stirred as they approached. By the back door, Frankie handed the others scarves and hats from the coat rail, and they found their shoes. Then Frankie eased open the door. The garden was silent and empty. They stood together in a huddle, their breath making clouds in the air. The grass sparkled with frost. Max's ears pricked up, and he arched his neck to the sky. Frankie saw a movement among the stars. At first he thought it must be a comet trailing dazzling lights. The shape came closer and closer. Frankie narrowed his eyes and spotted animals. They were hauling a wooden sled the size of a car. The creatures had dappled coats and small bushy white towels, and they seemed to be wearing some sort of pointy hats. "No, not hats. Antlers." "They're reindeer," gasped Louise. The sled swooped over the nearby houses and landed in Frankie's back garden. The reindeer's hooves thumping into the grass and bells jangling around their necks. Frankie was a little disappointed not to see Santa holding the reins. In fact, no one seemed to be driving at all. Louise and Charlie were wide-eyed, and Frankie realised he was holding his breath. He let it out in a rush. It wasn't as if they'd even been playing with the football, so what was a magic sled doing in his garden? "What now?" said Charlie. "You climb aboard, silly," said a voice. It came from the lead reindeer, twitching his antlers. "Did you just speak?" Louise asked, open-mouthed. The reindeer wiggled his tail. "Of course. Come on. Mr. Claus needs your help."